Welcome to The Blue Dot, Northern Kentucky's premier political podcast, brought to you by the Kenton County Democratic Executive Committee. Welcome back to The Blue Dot podcast, where we shine a light on the truth, the issues, and the people fighting for a better, stronger Kentucky. I'm Natalie MacDonald.
And I'm Brian Koehl. And today we're joined by two incredible leaders from the next generation of Kentucky Democrats, Tyesha Gordon, president of the Young Democrats, and Nicholas McHargue, the vice president. We're thrilled to have them with us to talk about what's happening across the Commonwealth and how young voices are shaping the future of our party.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. The Young Dems are not only the future of this party, they're the future of this country. And we need their voices to be heard, their concerns to be met, and their energy to be harnessed. So I'm super excited to hear from them in a couple minutes. But boy, do we have a lot to cover today, from Republican lawmakers slashing school funding to gutting Medicaid and gerrymandering Texas, of all places, to dodging their own transparency promises and hiding from their constituents. We're going to dive into it all.
That's right, Natalie. But before we get into the political circus we're all stuck watching under this carnival barker of a president, let's start with a few wins.
Yeah, it's always good to celebrate the wins. And the Democrats have been really hard at work right here in Kenton County and all over northern Kentucky with a lot of community outreach. We've been knocking on doors and connecting with our neighbors and hosting events that are bringing people together. And I have to say, this newly elected executive committee is one of the most united, hardworking groups I've seen in my 14 years of involvement with the Kenton Dems. So that's saying something.
And it sounds like the last happy hour was a big success. I was on vacation, and sorry I missed what sounds like a big crowd and a good time.
Yeah, we did miss you at the Ludlow Bromley Yacht Club. We did. I'll tell you what, the place is exactly the same as it was before it got hit by the barge. So,
okay,
it was a lot of fun.
I'm trying to figure out, is that good news or bad news?
It's just news.
All right, we'll take it at that.
You know, it's a great place. It's a lot of fun. It's got a great vibe. The Young Dems were there. They were there in full force. And we had representatives from the Kenton County Women's Club, which was great. But the most exciting part was that there were a lot of new faces that joined us. We had a group who came, and they said they were just looking to talk to like-minded people about their concerns and how all of these new policies and this new political environment is harming them and the ones they love. And we also had a few young people show up who were able to connect with our Young Dem leadership that were there. So it's really exciting to see people energized and ready to get involved in making positive change across all of our communities.
Yeah, that's certainly exciting to see and be a part of, because there is just a ton of work that needs to be done to push back against all of the really bad policies that the Trump administration and loyalist Republicans are implementing, not to mention the overall dismantling of our democratic institutions.
Gosh, I know. And, you know, I kind of understand why Speaker of the House Mike Johnson just shut down Congress early to go on their 5-week vacation and hide from not only all the horrible press from their disastrous policies, but to avoid talking about the Epstein files. I mean, they just cut and run.
Yeah, boy, that's right. You would think that passing the largest cut to healthcare and food assistance in U.S. history, completely without shame or apology, I might add, would make Republicans want to run and hide. But that wasn't quite enough on its own. It took the resurrection of a massive child sex trafficking scandal, fresh with new implications of dear leaders' direct involvement, and a possible floor vote to release the files on that scandal that finally convinced the speaker to close shop early and tell Republicans to head for the hills.
Yeah, and I think they're just kind of hoping that over the next few weeks here that this is just going to go away. But unfortunately, Trump just keeps digging himself in deeper, as he always does, right?
Yeah.
You know, he changes the story on a daily basis from, one day it's a hoax. The next day it's a witch hunt. And the next day he's pointing fingers at his enemies saying, no, they're on the list. But it gets a little confusing because he said there wasn't a list. So, it's not going to go away as long as Trump keeps opening his mouth.
Well, there was a list when the right was certain it was all a list of Democrats that they were going to be able to, charge with all kinds of terrible crimes. But now all of a sudden things are getting a little too close to home. And,
That's right.
Just when things got a little quiet, Trump answers a question on Air Force One on his way home, by the way, from cheating at golf at Scotland. Reporter asked a question about Epstein, in which he says that part of the reason they fell apart was Epstein kept stealing workers, i.e. young women, from his Mar-a-Lago spa. Trump said he finally had to tell Epstein, out of here. And then Trump added, when pressed by a reporter, that Virginia Giuffre, the woman who spoke out against Epstein and who recently died by suicide, was one of the underage girls Epstein stole. I mean, the self-proclaimed billionaire business tycoon, owner of the Mar-a-Lago club, with all that he had going on, but yet he knows about the day-to-day goings-on of the spa and its young employees, and he can recount the events 20 years later as president of the United States. Let us see the Epstein files. I know it's gutter politics, but Dems need to keep pushing on this one. Let's see those files.
Yeah, and it's not gutter politics because it's important. And to even hear him use the word stole as if she was his property is just astonishing, really. We could do an entire podcast on this because, we have video of Epstein pleading the fifth on camera before he died when he was asked if his relationship with Donald Trump involved underage girls. Now it appears that his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, is looking for a pardon or clemency. And we talked about that a little bit on our last podcast. I joked about it 3 or 4 weeks ago, saying that he's going to pardon her. And now it looks like it's a real possibility.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. Last week, they moved Ghislaine Maxwell to a new minimum security federal prison in Texas, the timing of which makes it very, very suspect and bizarre, not to mention unprecedented. There is a Bureau of Prisons rule designed to specifically punish sex offenders that states they cannot be held in any prison facility below the rating of low-level prison. The facility Maxwell was transferred to is minimum security facility, the Bureau of Prisons' lowest security level rating. So the move required the Bureau to waive its sex offender policy. So, sounds like a gift to Maxwell. But the article I was reading went on to explain that after recently talking with the feds, she was being labeled a snitch by the other inmates in her the facility she's currently in Tallahassee. And the prison management felt she was no longer safe there. Still, it's not hard to see this as a reward for Ghislaine's cooperating with the DOJ.
Oh, well, that's insane. I did not know that about the security ratings and the waiver to that sex offender policy. That's just incredible.
It could be legit. She's high profile and prison is not a safe place. And the higher the security of prisons, actually, the less safe they are. But once again, when things, all fall in place like this, it seems a little more than, not just coincidental.
Yeah, there wasn't a problem until now. Right. But everybody knew who she was.
Right. Uh-huh.
And that's the thing. The mega faithful is just going to keep falling in line. They believe, whatever story that he's going to say, whatever excuse he's going to have, even though it becomes more and more apparent that Trump's doing everything he can to avoid the truth coming out about this whole cover up. But again, Brian, we could talk about this for episodes.
For hours and hours. And we have.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. But so let's focus back here in Kentucky, where it's more of the same on the Republican side. They've gone into hiding while the Democratic representatives are out there having town halls across the state of Kentucky. And I love seeing that. And volunteers are knocking on doors in every county, participating in deep canvassing listening sessions. That's real people with boots on the ground, listening to Kentuckians and fighting for what matters.
Yeah, that's right. Unlike our representatives here in Northern Kentucky, in full transparency, we reached out to Congressman Massey a couple times to join us on the Blue Dot. He did decline. He did answer, but he did decline. And it's also notable, though, that when we asked if he was going to be having any town halls anywhere in his district during the break, his office said that no, he was not, and that he had no intentions of doing so. So that just really begs the question, does he even care about what matters to his constituents?
Yeah. And, of course, one of those things that matters right now is healthcare. We've been talking about it. We're beating that drum again. 1 in 3 Kentuckians relies on Medicaid, 1 in 2 children. But under the Republican-led federal budget, 200,000 Kentuckians are expected to lose their health insurance. 35 rural hospitals are at risk of closing. That's not just policy failure. That's a crisis.
Yeah, and we're looking at Medicaid. And as of last week marked the 60 years since the Democrats launched Medicaid. And it's really a legacy of compassion and care. And now Republicans like Congressman Massey, Senators Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell are trying to dismantle it piece by piece every chance they get.
Yep. And it's the same story with education. Republicans let the Trump administration yank $96 million from Kentucky schools with just a day's notice. And thankfully, Democrats like Governor Andy Beshear fought to get that money back, and they did.
Yeah, they sure did. And thankfully, after Governor Beshear filed that legal action against the Trump administration, they were forced to return that $96 million that they had stalled. Initially, it was just a portion of it, and now it came to full circle that they did have to give all of that money to the states as it was appropriated to begin with. So now that money is flowing right back into Kentucky schools as promised.
Yeah, I mean, any sane and responsible person wonders why Trump and the Republicans are doing this. Why are they making operating the government so hard? Think of the time and the money wasted fighting for funds that were already appropriated to the states. Well, right now we're being governed by people and a party that does not want to govern. And this is the Brian Koehl opinion section here. They want the power, but not the work that comes with it. So they withhold funding to see what breaks. If it breaks hard enough and they get enough pushback, or they themselves get hurt because they don't really know what they're doing, they restore the funding. If no one says anything, or it's only the powerless and voiceless that are hurt, they route that money to their own pet programs and financial benefactors. Hey, welcome to democracy, Republican style.
That's right. And again, Democratic leadership is trying to stand up for the people. Governor Beshear didn't stop fighting just because that money started flowing back. Under his leadership, now they're pushing for universal pre-K because early education shouldn't be a privilege. It should be a right for every child in Kentucky.
Yeah, and we could do an entire session on the benefits and economic impact that pre-K for all would bring to working families in Kentucky, which in fact we are planning to do for our listeners for a future podcast because it is so important. But the GOP, they're busy ending support for homeless students, slashing school budgets, and forcing families to pay what we're calling the Trump tax on school supplies.
Yeah, just over and over again. The bottom line is Republicans are hiding, right? They're cutting and running, whereas Democrats are showing up, standing up, and fighting back. Just a kind of side note, this weekend, the KDP held a training session for all of the county executive committees, and they ended up training members from over 35 counties. And it was just kind of training. It was like mastering our digital tools, learning about data management skills that we need, and fundraising tactics. And this is in addition to all of the other Blue Dot trainings that the party has been conducting around the state. So as a whole, they've trained people and constituents in over 60 counties thus far. So we're literally training an army of people across the Commonwealth to continue fighting for what's right. So meanwhile, the Republicans, they're refusing to even hold town halls. Democrats, as you said, are out there deep canvassing, listening to people in the community. And that's the kind of leadership Kentucky deserves. And this is how we will continue to grow the Blue Dot right here in Kentucky and make the change that's needed.
Absolutely. And what gives me hope more than anything else is that the future of the party is looking brighter every single day. And that is because we have really strong leadership stepping up. And we are seeing that in the Young Democrats all across the country, but especially here in Kenton County.
For those not familiar, Kenton County Young Democrats is the official organization for registered Democrats aged 40 and younger. And unfortunately, I'm no longer a part of that group, Brian. That ship has sailed.
Oh, shocking. Hey, neither am I.
Still feel like it in my heart, but my body's like, no, not so much. But their mission is to engage young voters, support Democratic candidates, and promote progressive values all around the year.
Yeah, right now, 66% of voters aged 18 to 24 and 64% of those aged 25 to 29 identify with or lean toward the Democratic Party. That's a powerful base, but it's one that needs to be nurtured and heard.
Yeah, and what's a little scary or poignant is that the leadership of Congress doesn't reflect that energy of the younger generation. Over 120 members of Congress are over the age of 70, and millennials make up just 15% of the House. There's only one Gen Z representative in all of Congress.
Yeah, that's terrible. It's really a serious generational disconnect, and it's not just about age. It's about lived experience. Young people are navigating student debt, climate anxiety, housing insecurity, and a rapidly changing economy. They want leaders who get it. And hey, you may not have noticed, but I'm an old guy. But I'm not here trying to hang on to power. I'm trying to help figure out how to effectively hand it off. I'm hoping to see a new, young, and strong Democrat Party leadership firmly in place before I leave this realm. We're supposed to pave the way for those who come after us, not throw up roadblocks.
Yep. And our listeners are in luck today because we have two amazing guests to talk about all of this. And let's be honest, this is who we need to be looking to in the party. They are the future of the party, and their voices need to be heard. And today we have two representatives from the Kenton County Young Democrats to give their perspective. Tyesha Gordon is the president of the Kenton County Young Democrats, and Nicholas McHargue is the vice president. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for being here. The future of the Democratic Party and our democracy depends on young, bold, progressive voices stepping up and being heard. And that is exactly what you're doing, and we appreciate it. And again, I'm on the tail end of this experience here on this planet, so I really am excited to see young people getting involved in politics. I've been worried about some of the polls where they see the numbers and, the disinterest or the indifference, and also some young people trending towards the right. So we're really interested in your perspectives. So can you just introduce yourself and share your role within the Kenton County Young Democrats? And what inspired each of you to get involved in local politics, and specifically with the Kenton County Young Democrats?
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm the vice chair of the Kenton County Young Dems. I think within the Kenton County Young Dems, we all wear a couple of hats. I'd like to consider myself the public relations for our group, because I just love to kind of complain to people about everything. So it's real easy for me.
He's a man of the people.
Thank you. Honestly, the main reason I got into, even at the local level with like the executive committee or for the Young Dems, I mainly did that because one day I want to run for office. I think it's a good way to start, is to just get to know people, because no one really knows who I am. Haven't done anything politically up until now. So this is a nice change.
I'm Tyesha. I'm president of Kenton County Young Dems. That it involves wearing a bunch of hats and just trying to keep us all, get all the things together behind the scenes. I feel like I'm more of the behind the scenes and he's more of he's out there with the people. So it's a good balance. And we have a fantastic team. I just want to shout out our team because we got the dream team right now. So shout out to our Young Dems dream team for Kenton County. But what got me involved, honestly, I wanted to run for office since I was a kid. But what really got me involved is McGrath. Her brother was my high school history teacher. And when she was running for office, she was in Covington. And I went down there kind of hoping to see him, if I'm being honest. And I ended up talking to Amy McGrath, and that was fantastic. And then I told Danielle, the chair of our executive committee for Kenton Dems, and I told her that I wanted to get involved. And she kind of just looped me in, and I've been here ever since. So what really sparked it, when I was a kid, I would see all the signs in the yards, and I didn't really know that they were political signs. And I'd wonder why I would see all these signs of people's names, and then I'd ask questions. They're like, "Oh, those people are running for office. You vote for them." But in my neighborhoods, those people, the names on those signs weren't the people doing the work. They just weren't. They weren't the ones showing up in the neighborhood. They weren't volunteering. They weren't taking food to so-and-so's house because their parents or grandparents are sick, because the grandparents are the ones taking care of the kids. They weren't the ones showing up in the neighborhood, but yet they were the people whose names are on the signs. And I don't know, never set right with me. So I've always been involved in politics, but when I would ask to try to get a foot in the door, or just to try to get help, I was told that was, I'm just going to say it, be very blunt. I was told that was white people stuff, because I won't cuss. And so it was really hard getting into the door, but I'm here because the representation matters, and I just want to build and give back to the community. So that's what we're doing with Young Dems.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. I love that curiosity. And you're continuing to be curious is what really has you involved, and knowing that there's more out there that you can do. So I want to kind of start asking you kind of two broad springboard questions to get the discussion going. So first off is, what do you think Democrats need to do right now to re-engage young voters and rebuild trust? But on the flip side, what should they not do? I don't know, whichever of you want to take that on first.
I'm glad that I'm in the Young Dems, because I think the main problem with the Democratic Party is they cater way too much to the older voice. I just think it's obvious in everything they do, all their stances on a lot of stuff. There's only a few people even in office that are under the age of 60, like it is crazy. I look at an issue that happened back in January where they were talking about the oversight committee because rank and file people leave, and there was a big discussion of who would get it over Representative Connolly and Representative AOC. And Representative Connolly, no disrespect to anybody, wanted his turn to be in charge of a committee because it was his time when he's already out. He already, he got too old to be nice about it. And now we're stuck in a position where there's no one given a voice where it needs to be.
And here, what they need to do is obviously get younger people, younger voices, younger representation. Right? Tyesha, I don't know if you had something to add to that, or if you had another point, or like I said, the flip of that. What do they not do?
Well, they got to stop using young Dems as pack mules. And the only time it feels like, so when I was at NKU, right, in the student inclusiveness office, and I was talking to the students, and a lot of them were just like, we don't vote. And I was trying to explain to them the importance, and the one girl just looked at me. She's like, why? They only come around here when they want us to do stuff any other time, but they don't actually care what we have to say. And I thought about it, and a lot of times people are like, yeah, we need young Dems, we need canvassers. And I'm like, great. But if that's all you want us for, you're not building anything. You're not actually engaging anyone. You got to stop using the appeals and actually listen. And also stop riding the fence. If you want to know where people are disengaged because people are riding the fence real hard on things, that should be a hard stop. We're wasting a lot of time either riding the fence, or we spend a lot of time combating the other side. We spend a lot of time in our messaging combating what Republicans are doing instead of focusing on our base and what we need to be messaging to our people, right? They're very good on the other side of serving crumbs as caviar. They're real good at that. They give their people crumbs and make it look real nice and shiny. And people latch on because they're loud and they're vocal and they don't ride the fence. They're just out there screaming nonsense. I'm not saying we need to scream nonsense, but we need to be bold. We need to be loud. We want to get people engaged. You also have to build the trust, but you're not going to build trust by ignoring young Dems and only using them when you want canvassers. It's not going to get anywhere. We have to actually engage people and build trust.
I think that's interesting. I mean, coming from my perspective, I've always been proud as a Democrat that, the classic Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high, et cetera. And I think for the longest time, I mean, that's how I tried to raise my kids, how I view myself as, is be respectable and be respectful and respect the dignity of others and take the high road, et cetera. But I do agree, and I've felt it more and more, and now you're just putting a fine point on it, that we need to start fighting at the same level and in the same way and be loud, and also to be focused on what we need instead of trying to repel what is not going right for us in respectful tones. So am I kind of getting close there? Go ahead and expound on that a little bit, because I think it's really, really important. I think it's something that people want to hear.
I'm going to say this, then Nick, you can probably jump in.
You do it.
But stop washing our hands before we go in the pig pen, right? Just why are we doing that, right? If they go low, I feel like if they go low, you go high. There was a time and a place for that. And I don't mean be out here lying and wilding out like Trump, but we do need to be visible. Right. We do need to be showing up when things are wrong. If they go low, dig a damn trench, okay? Dig a trench and put people where they are. If someone's saying something wild and crazy, don't be afraid to be like, you know what? He's a complete liar. I feel like so many times we're just taking the moral high ground, and everyone else is pissed off and screaming, and we're so busy taking the moral high ground that it seems like we're ignoring the messages and we're ignoring the voice of the people because we're too busy up here on our high ground.
Yeah, I'm fully in agreement on that. The only time young Dems are really brought into the question is when it's some person trying to build a coalition to pad their votes. There's never the progressive candidate always gets pushed down. The younger, slightly more moderate candidate always gets pushed down. It just seems like the main voices of our party are just all feel center right with how the message needs to be of the modern day. I hate this harp on them, but we always have these older people that are in our politics that haven't really been a part of maybe the modern life in 20 or 30 years, and they still compare it to what it was like back in the 80s or 90s.
Yes.
And that's just not today,
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you look at kind of that gerontocracy of Congress, are there any kind of rising stars that you're looking at? I Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Robert Garcia. Who are you guys looking to as the rising stars in the party who could make that change?
One of my favorite people right now is Senator John Ossoff from Georgia. He had an incredibly difficult race back in 2020, so that was really how I learned about him. But he has been He has been awesome. Someone that's fought for small businesses, someone that's fought for younger people to have voices in their communities. I found out recently that he used to be an investigative journalist in Georgia, and he was very big on trying to show off for corrupt individuals that were throughout the state, and that's what really propelled him to where he's at today. And I just think that's the kind of voices that we need. Someone who's not afraid to say what it is, no matter who's on the other side of that.
Recall also to our earlier point that at one of his rallies, he came right out at Trump on the Epstein thing, which I felt that was almost out of character for him, but it's actually, he understands the essence of the moment and what needs to be done. And I admired that as well. So he knows how to be professional and knows how to get things done, but he's not afraid to roll up his sleeves and get down and dirty if he needs to.
Exactly. Big fan. I feel the same about maybe like Ruben Gallego in Arizona. Mm-hmm. I know he might be on the older side of the Dems, being at 45. But I also believe like it's all just who you are at heart. I know Brian, he gets out there and he's canvassing. I know he's out at all the rallies. He's out at all the protests. I mean, that's young at heart to me. It's all about how you're moving and grooving. So I love it.
How about you, Tyesha? Is there someone who you're looking to right now?
Okay, so this is coming off of the Young Dems convention. I'm just going to shout out the Young Dems. Like there was so much passion and dedication and intelligence and just energy, and I don't even know how to explain. Like it was like the peak democracy for me, the peak example of democracy. I was in a room with people who no one looked the same. There was so much diversity. And just all over, from people all over. I mean, we had representation from abroad. We had representation from the U.S. Like we had just all this representation, like all these people. And like, even though we all had the same vision, we didn't necessarily agree on how to get there. There were committee meetings that ran way long, but they're intelligent and they're powerful and they should be listened to. And I just think that if we don't start like making room for them, it's going to be at our own party's peril. If we don't start giving them a voice, and not just giving them a voice, like let them bring their own table, give them a voice, but also like mentorship. We are not mentoring Young Dems. We got to make the pipeline so we can build the bench. But I just want to Fatima Hayward is the new Young Dems president. She's amazing, the first Black female president, but also just her career has included advocacy, coalition building, elevating political power for the youth. So she is amazing. Stephon Moore in Kentucky won the DNC, the DNC committeeman. So basically he is our liaison for the DNC. He makes a connection for the Young Dems with the DNC. And we need that because not only does he want to make connection, but he wants to build community around it and have us all working together instead of working separately. Then Jermaine Koehl, young kid, he is amazing. He was given the Rising Star Award for the party. Jamal Holt, he did that. That was a documentary, The 51st State. He did that documentary. It's about DC and them not having any voting power. He's fantastic. And then we got Blake Robinson. He won Southern VP. And then actually in Kentucky, Clayton Brown is the new Young Democrats of America Royal Caucus chair. So he's from Kentucky. So we have two people from Kentucky who represented really well in DC. But I'm looking to the young Dems because the passion that I saw there was amazing. And if we have got to start making room for them.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Great representation for Kentucky too. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, Kentucky was killing it. To be at the convention and to see the Young Dems all running their own campaigns for these positions was it was magical. I was in heaven because I love campaigns. It was nonstop. I mean, no one slept the whole time, but it was great to see just everyone putting all their passions into everything.
So I am curious, going back to what you said earlier, because I keep hearing this and I'm trying to figure out, how does this work? How do you see it? So now we have Young Democrats on the podcast, so I can ask you directly when you say that, instead of just fighting against what the others are doing or complaining about what the others are doing, let's talk about what are we for, right? What's our message? In the current environment, when we're in the minority, at the state legislative level, when we're in the minority at the federal level, Republicans have the trifecta, right? How do you envision, or how would you speak that message? What would that message be, and how would you make it resonate?
I think when it comes to that, especially since we are out of power, we definitely have to be focused on what are just casual legislation that everybody can benefit from. I think a big thing that Young Dems are working for is the right to repair. I mean, that's phenomenal. I know that a big part of it is that they're trying to work with like smartphones, I mean, cars, fridges, just so you can be able to just fix it yourself. Everything's so complicated. You can't actually go in and do anything to actually fix something. If there is a problem, you got to take it specifically to the dealer. You got to take it specifically to the place that sells it. That way they can take care of whatever that item is. You have no way to be autonomous in your own life anymore. And I feel like that's a lot of the stuff that Young Dems have been working on.
That's interesting. Not aware of that. So let me ask you a question about Kamala Harris's campaign last year. Of course, hindsight's 2020, or all the critics come out once we lost, unfortunately, right? I was excited by the message. I was excited by everybody getting involved, and it spoke to a lot of the issues that are really near and dear to me. A lot of the diversity, equity, inclusion, et cetera. I mean, to me, that's what built this nation, and now to try to tear that down and go backwards, it's despicable. Did that resonate with you, and what did you feel like? Is that something you could build upon, or to give you some ideas or a foundation, or were the things that you rejected and it was like, no, the Democrats still aren't getting it?
I feel with Kamala, I mean, she was given a horrible situation that was thrust upon her, and she had to take that and run. And I think in the first couple of weeks, she was sprinting. It was awesome. What she was saying, what she stood for. I mean, one of the most important decisions a president makes is their vice president. And she picked a progressive from Minnesota that cared about young people. He cared about the normal person. There was no right side, left side sometimes. It's just what's going to be the best for people. And I feel like where Kamala started to fall off was when, I mean, it's the same with most people that run. Once they get closer to the election day, they just start trying to say as many broad things as they can.
Tighten up.
And it just started to seem disingenuous a little bit towards the end. And I feel like that's where a lot of people started to not want to come out.
It was the fence riding, right? It was being quiet about genocide. It was you speaking broadly, but you're not saying a lot. And don't get me wrong, I love her, I'm not hating at all, but it was
2028.
Yeah, the messaging just wasn't resonating, right? Like, we have to start talking about where I say meeting people where they are. I just had a whole conversation with my friends about student loans, because I got an email. I just graduated in May from NKU, but I just got a message, and it was like, your next payment. And I was just like, first of all, I don't know where that $400 is going to come from, right? And that was just on one of them. There were more, we can't afford to pay student loans and afford to pay to live. And that's where a lot of people are right now, right? People are worried about that. We're worried about taxes. We got to start messaging to where people are at and meet them where they're at. If they're mad about student loans, we all need to be mad about student loans. How are we going to fix this? What's the plan? But I think just more of when it comes to messaging, instead of speaking for the young people, just ask them what they care about. For example, Covington has a new commission for the youth, right? Because there's a lot of things happening in Latonia with the teenage youth, and everyone wants to label them bad. The kids are not bad. They're just not engaged. We don't have anything around here for them to do. When I was younger, we had the roller rink. We don't have anything for them to do. So they're just going to do what's out there. And they have this commission. But I remember asking one of the commissioners, I was like, okay, so what kids do you guys have on the commission? What youth? And they just looked at me. I said, so you just have a bunch of old people, and then some of them, a bunch of old white people trying to speak for these kids who are not old and white. We've got to meet kids where they're at. You need to pull the youth on the commission. This is why I say representation matters. Just what we're talking about. Everyone's just worried, and we're fired up, and they're tired of being ignored. And you have people who have the expertise. I feel like there's this thing where they're like, wait your turn or wait your place, or you don't have enough experience, but it might not be the direct experience, but it's parallel and it correlates, right? And so I think just taking those skill sets and moving them over, but just meet them where they're at. And I think a lot of people like to blanket blame, where they're like, this, everyone's terrible, but I'm not going to skip past the fact that a lot of racists showed up at the polls. They just could not let a black woman win the race. But also we can't
totally agree.
Yeah,
Totally
a lot of racists showed. I mean, I was in line and I went to multiple places because Nat, how we like to see what's happening at the different polling locations. And my friend texted me I just listened to this conversation behind these two men, and they were saying the same thing, and two men in front of me were saying the same thing. We can't have a woman in office. It was very obvious. So we got to start meeting people. That's why I mean meeting people where they're at. Let's start getting more TikToks out there. Click the podcast, put it on the TikToks, and run that, because more young people are going to see this. They're going to hear our voices that way. And then, but also not just relying on social media, but using social media to build that engagement, because reach and engagement are two different things. I don't really think older people realize that. Like, you can reach them, but are you actually engaging them? Like, if we're reaching people, for instance, the school supply drive that we're Kenton County Young Dems are doing that we have coming up. If we're reaching people, we can reach them, but we have to actually engage them and tell them, hey, this is what we need, where to drop things off. This is why the schools need them. So I think just making sure we're utilizing social media to like meet people where they're at, but then also get them out to these events so we can build the community.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'll be the first one to say that the old white guys don't know everything. I'm really looking forward to when it's not a bunch of old white guys that are running everything. Okay. Because I have kids with student loans, and I was just on the phone with my oldest not too long ago talking through what's going on. And it's not so much the student loans, it's the programs and the mess that they made of the programs, and the multiple times he had to apply for stuff. And then he said, okay, I'll do this in order to save myself something on the principal. And then, oh, well, we got rid of that program. So now that entirely went away. So some people say, well, you went to school, you should have to accept your responsibility for your financial responsibility.
Well,
I think every student does that, right?
Yeah.
But give us a decent interest rate and keep it stable and make it predictable, and we'll pay the loans off. It's been a roller coaster ride.
It's funny that they say that, like, they went to school when it was way cheaper, and before they passed laws that made student loans particularly predatory, right? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
there's the bankruptcy as an example of that. Like, you can't file bankruptcy on your student loans, which you should be able to be, because the interest rates are the amount that I have to pay back versus the amount that I borrowed is criminal.
And my question is always, where does that money go? Where does that interest money go? Does it go to the Department of Education that they've now disbanded or trying to disband? I mean,
and the pockets of what's McMahon? They own the collection companies. It goes to the people and makes the rich richer. That's why they keep getting sued. Like, people, they keep pretending like this isn't happening, and that, like, the Republicans keep trying to say that we don't want to pay things back, but we want to pay it back. Just let us pay back what we borrowed.
Yep. That's a serious issue that needs to be addressed.
Like, they made a cycle and they made everything worse, and then they're punishing us for the fact that they made it worse, which makes no sense to me. Like, they made these rules. FICO score wasn't even a thing for half of them. What did they come out in 89? Like, why are we, like, do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of these things weren't a thing for them, but they made the cycle to make everything worse, and they're blaming us for them making things worse that they are then profiting on. Like, how are we, like, we're not the bad guys here. We're just caught in the middle. I'm sorry. But then they're making school, like, worse. The quality of education is worse now. There's no diversity, equity, or inclusion, which means there's the certain topics we can't talk about anymore. The Student Inclusiveness Office at NKU has been dissolved. And that office helped thousands of students, including me, graduate, because they gave support when there's no support. Like, they had times where you could just come on the weekend or Friday nights and just study. You just come, and, like, it was a safe place to just study, listen to music, or it was Free Your Mind Fridays. And you could just play games and relax. And, like, kids need community. Like, there's statistics are showing that, like, if you have the community, you'll graduate. But, like, so now we're stuck in this vicious cycle where we're paying for this crappy education, and we can't even pay for it, right? It's just, but this is what we are angry about. Anyone needs to know. Your kids are drowning here.
I mean, all the services that they give to us are just watered down, but it's always terrible because, I mean, all the Democrats, top to bottom, I don't care how old you are, they're all fighting for life to be better for everyone, and it's just real tough to talk to people about the fact that the Democrats, maybe on like an 80 to 90% range, are trying real hard to bring your costs down. And maybe some other people, 80, 90% of them are trying real hard to keep them costs high. And it just eventually is going to reach this giant snowball where everybody's going to be stuck and no one's going to be able to go anywhere.
On the positive side, then, how can people get involved with what you're doing? What are you guys doing? How can people get involved to support you all?
I mean, coming up next, we have a happy hour coming up next Thursday where we're going to be at Wunderbar down in Covington. If you want to come hang out with us, come join our Young Dem squad. We're small but mighty. Please make us mighty and mighty. It'll be awesome. You can obviously find us on all social medias at Kenton County Dems, Young Dems.
Facebook, Instagram, and we'll have a TikTok coming soon. as well as we have a school drive coming up. So please look out for that post. You guys will be able to click the link and basically order things to help the local schools. It's just about right now we're focused on building the community and showing up in the community. In order to get people to come out, we got to build the trust and we got to show up. So I want to build the community and actually do the work in the community. That way people know they can trust us. That way they will come out and support us. But yeah, so we have events coming up that I think a lot of people will enjoy, young or older. I won't say old, young or older, where it'll give you chances to get involved. Just either email us or hit us up on our social medias.
I think you have to be passionate. You have to be serious, but I think there has to be some joy and some humor mixed in there because you're not going to want to do it if it's drudgery. I mean, you've got to, I just love the community aspect of the Democratic Party. I mean, that's another piece of it for me. It's just as you said, Nick, earlier, young or old, I think once you start talking with Democrats, they usually start talking about how do we make life better for others. And that's that's how I became a Democrat. And that's why I've been a Democrat for all these years. So I appreciate hearing that from our young Democrats. And Tyesha, I like the passion. Go for it. We need it.
We definitely need it. I just want to be real. I think the community is real big. Just to add on to that, some of my best friends that I have now are because of being involved. It's just I did the finance assistant on when Buddy Reilly ran for Secretary of State, and I was on his race. And one of my best friends now did the same job on Colonel Pam Stevenson's race at the time. And we are best friends now. Everyone we went to Philly with, we all have a chat and we talk all the time. Nick, one of my favorite humans. Everybody, our Kenton County Young Dems, I love all of them. The community, once you find like-minded people and you're focused on something, it just builds that community. And we all don't have to agree, but if we just work together to get the job done, that's where we make a difference.
Yep, agreed.
Well, before we let you guys go, we do a little lightning round with all of our guests. If you're up for it, we'll ask you 5 quick questions.
I'm ready for 5 quick questions.
You're ready for it? You can either answer them each or however you guys want to do it, but 5 quick lightning round questions for you guys. Okay. If your political opinions were a meme, what would the caption be?
Have you ever seen that farmer that's looking out across the field? It's actually a Department of Agriculture meme. Fun fact. And he's just looking out and he's saying it ain't much, but it's honest work. That's us.
I like it. Awesome. All right, then I'll go to the second one for Tyesha. What is your go-to hype song?
Listen, I would like to shout out Kendrick and Cardi B because Cardi B's Enough. So it would be Cardi B Enough and then Kendrick's Whacked Out Murals.
Nicely done. All right, then Nicholas, if there were a movie about you, who would you want to play your part?
I'd have to go with Paul Mescal. I love Gladiator 2.
Okay.
Prime.
He's already got that in his mind. He's like, that's it.
Prime.
That's it.
Thank you.
All right, Tyesha, what is your preferred communication platform?
Texting.
You want me to text you, do not call you?
Text me, send a voice note, but I'll take a phone call too.
That's fair. And this one was kind of made for you, Nicholas. Okay, if you had to pick a Star Wars character to be your vice president, who would it be?
It's Ahsoka Tano, no doubt.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
You were not going to say Ahsoka. I was going to be very mad at you. We're both huge Star Wars fans, by the way.
That is fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for being here. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. I love hearing your insights, and I admire the passion. I can't wait until you own it.
Thank you.
Hey, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for letting us come on.
Yeah, thank you all. We had a great day.
Anytime, guys. Thanks a bunch.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya. Before we wrap up today's episode, we want to leave you with a call to action and give you some information on a few exciting opportunities for you to get involved right here in Kenton County.
That's right. If you're looking for a way to make a real difference, now is the time. The Kenton County Young Democrats are doing incredible work, organizing, mobilizing, and leading with purpose. So go check out what they're doing. Whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or X, formerly Twitter, they're sharing updates, volunteer opportunities, and ways to plug in. Their energy, as you can tell from the interview, is contagious, and their work is making a real impact. So make sure you get out and support them.
Yeah, and speaking of making an impact, mark your calendars for August 30th. We're hosting another deep canvassing event, and we'll be gathering at Randolph Park in Covington. And then right after that, we're going to keep the momentum going by inviting everyone to join us for a Kenton Dems family picnic in the park. That'll also be at Randolph Park. Again, a great chance to just relax and connect, celebrate all of the good work we're doing. So bring your family, bring a friend, and bring your appetite. How about you, Brian? What's on your calendar?
Well, as you know, I was traveling for the last couple of weeks, including an off-the-grid vacation for about a week, which, hey, That was wonderful. Very nice. But I did kind of lose some momentum on keeping up with politics and events. I can tell you that I think we're going to have a huge National Day of Resistance coming up on September 1st, Labor Day 2025. The theme for this demonstration is Workers Over Billionaires, in which we state our demands to build the society we deserve. Some of the major themes are stop the billionaire takeover of our government and institutions, fight the rampant corruption of the Trump administration, protect and defend Medicare, Social Security, and other programs for working people, fully fund schools, health care, and affordable housing. Stop otherism. Stop the attacks on immigrants, minorities, and other people on the margins, and invest in people, not wars. I also, as always, encourage our listeners to expand out and seek commentary and information by independent news and opinion sources. Substack, YouTube, and Blue Sky are great places to start.
Sounds like there's a lot there to check out. So thank you for all that info, Brian. And that is it for this podcast. Thank you all for joining. We look forward to seeing you at Randolph Park and everywhere Kentuckians are coming together to fight for a better future.
Yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks to bring you up to speed with all things political in Kenton County and beyond.
Yeah, and don't forget you can join the conversation at our Facebook and Instagram pages or at blue.podcast.com. And if you like listening to our podcast, consider donating to help fund it. It would make a difference, which you can do by clicking on the donate link at blue.podcast.com. Until next time, stay curious, keep the facts in focus, and never stop fighting for what matters. Peace out, everybody.